You are listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Silhouette Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoys on the market, and these other fine brands. Pit Boss Waterfowl, ducks, dogs, and decoys. Canadian Waterfowl Supply, Canada's #1 source for all your waterfowl needs. And Rig 'em Right, heavily seasoned.
Hey everyone, welcome to Punisher Waterfowl's the Union 0430 podcast. Right away you'll notice, whether you're watching or listening, that I am not Damien. I don't have Damien or Phil here tonight. It's just me. We have a guest, Mike Masucci, on with us. But first, and before I get too nervous and forget, I want to thank the sponsors. So thank you to Real Geese, Rig 'em Right, Canadian Waterfowl Supplies, and Pit Boss Waterfowl. Thanks for your ongoing support and joining us in 2026. So like I said, Damien's not here tonight. He's away at a veteran event for, they're doing some skiing, I believe, in Quebec. So he's excited about that. And I heard from him earlier, he's having a good time. And Phil couldn't join us. He was hoping to come on tonight and talk dogs as well. But he's at a meeting for his local Delta dinner. So they've got their, their North Durham Delta dinner coming up on March 6th. So they're having a meeting, see where things are at with that. And last I heard, they're selling tickets quick. And they're still looking to sell a few more of those. So if anybody's interested in that and getting out, that's at their, I believe, the Royal Ashburn Golf Club this year. And it's on March 6th. They bumped it up. I believe it was in May last year. So if you're looking for that, look them up on Instagram or Facebook. That's North Durham Delta Waterfowl. So check that out. Reach out. You could reach out to Phil online too. So he'll have tickets for you. But yeah, so it's just us tonight. And Damien had reached out to Phil and I to ask if we wanted to do an episode ourselves. And we both said no. I was too nervous to do it. But then I remembered Mike had said he wanted to come on before. And I'm sure Mike was probably hoping to come on with the other guys as well. But he gets stuck with just me tonight. But yeah, so we're going to talk dogs tonight. So I'm going to apologize to anybody who's gotten maybe a little tired of dogs the last while, especially since I got mine. Damien's talking about it a lot, using that as an opportunity to talk more dogs. But I was hoping tonight to use that as an opportunity with just the two of us on to kind of go back, dumb it down a little bit, kind of like the Dogs for Dummies sort of thing. Because as everybody knows, I'm new to dogs, and we've had a lot of great episodes in the past. But some of them are they're a little more detailed, or we get off on tangents, so we'll talk a little bit about dogs and then something else. So it's none of them been really in depth, but there have been some good episodes. So that's why I wanted to bring Mike on. And Mike and I met last fall for the first time on a hunt that we were invited out to by a mutual friend. And so yeah, I wanted to have him on and talk dogs with me and give me some pointers. And so Mike, if you want to just give a little intro on yourself, tell everybody who you are.
Absolutely. So my name is Mike Masucci. I am the president of the Georgian Bay Hunters and Retriever Club. We train all types of retrieving dogs, upland, waterfowl. We do sheds as well. We cover quite a big area, so we go all the way from Owen Sound area across to Aurelia, as far south as Alliston, and as far north as North Bay. We are the most northern club in Ontario for HRC. So we are part of the Hunting Retriever Club, which is associated with the United Kennel Club. So we run events strictly for HRC. It's an international group by hunters for hunters. The whole aspect of it is essentially to put tests together that are hunting oriented, that will really show your dog's true natural hunting abilities and the teachabilities for the dogs. So that's why I chose the HRC. Yeah, that's kind of how I started. I've been a dog trainer amateur for about 6 years now. I have two of my own dogs. I have a 6-year-old hunting retriever champion, upland retriever champion, chocolate female, and I just got now she's about a 1.5-year-old puppy, who's got her started title, a couple of upland passes, and we're taking it real slow. She's got a big gun underneath her, so I'm really trying to keep her under control and focusing on obedience right now. So,
and you brought up a lot of different things there, like different terms and acronyms and everything, and that's one thing I want to dig into a little bit later tonight too, is with the HRC and the clubs and the trials and all that, just learning a little bit more about it. because that's one of
Absolutely.
those things where like we've had lots of guys on where those get tossed around, and like for guys like myself, and I'm sure a lot of people listening, um, don't know the difference between the different types of trials, the different types of clubs, and the benefits to and the differences between each. So I definitely want to touch on that tonight. Um, and like I said, like you've been around a while, and so like we've had a lot of good episodes. Like I said, in the past with guys like Scott Rumble, and I'm sure a lot of these guys and you've run into
Absolutely.
plenty of times, like Scott and Jordan Stone, and who's the other guy? Matt Wilson out east. And then we've had brands like Hunt Mark and Barrows Outdoor. And so like there's been a lot of great information. I suggest anybody who's interested and hasn't listened to those ones go back and watch or listen to those episodes, because
100%.
there's some great stuff in there. But like I said, my idea for this was kind of going back to, for guys like myself, to kind of starting at zero. And because it always kind of reminds me when at work, when I would be bumped around from different jobs, I'd go away on training, and you're in this training course, and they like when I used to look at food a lot for work, and I'd go into this training and something they'd get going on about like canned goods and that. So you get into this course with other people who'd already been doing it for 20 years, and they're talking about this process, and like they've already started to kind of at 75%, and I'm at zero, and just so trying to get an idea of what people are talking about. And so that's why I figured it'd be good to have you come on and just kind of talk about that.
Absolutely. You've had
And
some really good people out there.
oh yeah,
Scott Rumble. I've hunted with him many years. We've talked dogs. We've done some work together. Excellent dog trainer. Really knows his stuff. Doesn't matter what the breed is. He's a really good dog trainer. I speak really highly of him. Great, and honestly, he's a really good guide. I've been on a couple of hunts with him as a guide with Wing Feather Outfitters. Scott's excellent on the call. They named
yeah,
a call after him, so
yeah,
he's got GK call. He got the Rumbler. He's the guy knows his stuff. He can call birds. He can train dogs. The guy can do it all. And he's a straight shooter. That's one thing I really like about Scott. He'll tell you how it is, whether you want to hear it or not. But he'll always give you his honest opinion, and that for me makes him worth every penny you pay him. So.
yeah. And anybody who's listened before knows like that's where my dog is currently. And this episode, I'm assuming it'll be out on Monday, like they normally are, depending on Damien's availability. But if this comes out Monday, my dog will be back home by then. So I'm going to pick him up Sunday from Scott. Going to spend the day down there training. So I'm nervous as shit to to bring the dog home.
Absolutely.
And to
transition times, man. They're the craziest, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
And and part of the reason why I want to have you on too, because like you don't have any financial skin in the game, sort of thing, right? Like
absolutely.
you're
I'm
a hunter,
100% amateur.
yeah,
100%
you're an amateur
trainer.
Trainer yourself. You're a hunter. That's how we met. And I brought it up on past episodes after I hunted with you and Nick. And I was telling the guys, I was like, yeah, I was out on this one hunt. And these guys showed up with their dogs, and I was like, man, they were so good.
Absolutely.
And,
Nick's got a great dog there. Nick's the vice president of Georgian Bay HRC. Really great guy as well. His dog's fantastic. All amateur trained. He did it all from scratch, his first dog. And, that tells you the type of people that our club has and what we're bringing to the table.
And yeah, so like I said, I wanted to have you on because it's that different perspective. And not to say that any of the guys that we've had on would, they're not coming on to give us their biases or anything like that. Like I'm not suggesting that, but like we've had brands on, we've had professional trainers on, we've had breeders on. So again, to have you on, you're, like other than having a lot more experience than I do, you're kind of coming at it from the same perspective as me. So that's where I figured, to go through these sorts of things with a guy like yourself that has gone from, point A to Z, like you're going to have that kind of everyday average Joe sort of approach to it, sort of thing. So that's where it's like, I figured your perspectives are good for guys like myself or anybody else who's interested in a dog or maybe already has a dog or, maybe has a dog that isn't that, up to a certain level yet. And they're looking for tips and that, and that's where, like I said, I kind of wanted to start from zero. So like, just kind of starting from square one with your thoughts on even, starting with a breed. We're duck hunters, you're typically going to go with a lab, and that's where, so like when, notes I had originally was like kind of to keep myself on track was, tell us, like, give us some suggestions on how to pick a pick a breed that fits you, and then tell everybody why lab is the right answer.
Absolutely. So the first thing everybody oversteps and they don't think about, how's your home life? What type of life can you provide for that dog? You, from the second that you put your money down, that dog is your responsibility, all the vet bills. What type of home do you have? Are you going to be able to take care of it? Do you work weekends? Are you busy? Those are all things you got to take into account before you can even choose a breed. So assuming that you have a solid home, you got a family, or your home at least to let the dog out, you're able to do all that. Then comes the great part of, what type of hunting do you do and how much hunting do you do? That'll tell you a lot as well, right? I'm a big game hunter. I waterfowl hunt. We upland hunt. I do a little bit of everything. We shed hunt as well, picking up sheds in the spring. Once all the snow that we've been getting goes away, I'm looking forward to getting out in the end of March. But yeah, that the type of hunting you do has a lot to do with it too. Where do you live, right? Are you in northern Ontario? Are you down in the southern states? You get dogs with big coats. You got to be careful with training them in the summertime. You got to be careful with hunting them early, right? We have sometimes in September where it's 30 degrees outside. We're hitting 85, 90. Dogs are overheating. You got to be careful of that kind of stuff. So I'd say it's definitely be selective. Know the type of hunting you do. Are you a late season hunter? Do you hunt all the way through? Once you pick the type of hunting you do, for example, I hunt all the way through the year. I dog train in the summer. I upland hunt on game farms in the off season, just to get out with my dad. My dad trained setters. Well, I grew up with pointers. I only got into labs. Yeah, I only got into labs in the last decade, I would say. So we always have a little bit of family rivalry about the better breeds and whatnot, right? My dogs will do better in December when we're picking up ducks on the ice. His dogs will do better in the summertime, when we're picking up woodcock, in the fall. So just depends on your type of hunting. Trainability, I like a lab. Depending on the type of whether you have, chessies do the same type of job, completely different type of training. There seems to be some big myth that they're stubborn and hard-headed. I've never trained one, so I'm not going to tell you that that's the case. But what I can tell you is from guys that I know that are professional trainers, train them. There's a term, training with a 2x4. The hard-headed thing, it's not real. You just need to know how to train them, right? Mm-hmm. Every dog trains a different way. I'm not going to train my lab the same way that I'm going to train my dad's pointer or one of his flushing dogs, his setters, right? So just knowing that kind of thing, that's what I would say. Knowing the type of hunting you want to do and the amount of time that you have, right? That's a big thing too. So, and then from there you get into, okay, where do I get the dog? Who should I contact? Where can I find these kinds of dogs? And there's a lot of really, really good places where they claim to be reputable breeders. They're putting out great hunting dogs, and you go and look, and everything looks great on paper. I did the same thing for my 6-year-old Chocolate. I thought I was doing a great thing. Come to find out that they're not doing appropriate breedings after I got the dog, right? And it looked really good. I looked online. I went to go to they took me into the kennel, showed me everything was clean. It looked really good, and it was just a really, really good cover for a form of a puppy mill, to put it in lesser words. Yeah. So those are things that you got. I suggest for anybody that's looking to buy a dog, there's lots of Facebook groups out there. Get on an HRC page, a CKC page. Start asking questions. Make sure all of the health clearances are done. You should be able to see it all. The breeder should be able to answer any questions you have. Put them in contact with other people that have bought dogs from them. The breeder should be able to do that if they're a reputable breeder. And the best thing you can do is ask online. People will come out of the woodworks and you'll get lots of different opinions, but you'll get the majority of what's honest from, especially the dog world. It's a small world. Everybody knows everybody. Yeah. As soon as you start going off and doing things you shouldn't be doing, people will know, and it's going to come out, and it'll backfire. And it might not happen today, but it will happen eventually. Yeah. Everything comes out. So.
And that was one of the things I had a hard time with was determine it's easy to find litters. It's easy to find people online that have puppies, but really kind of sifting through and finding the good resources to really look that info up or to ask those questions. And one thing I've said lots of times in different episodes is when, for me or anybody who's brand new, whether dogs or any topic, it's like when you're so new, you don't know what to ask, you don't know what to look for. And the problem I had with looking online, more so like on social media, is you've got such a wide range, right? Like you got to you got to take those outlying ones where it's like the really bad comments and the really good comments and assume those are wrong, right? Like assume that the guy bitching and giving the worst review probably was just a dick himself and or
Absolutely.
didn't understand. And then the ones that are singing all the top praises are probably somebody's brother-in-law's cousin's mom sort of thing, right? So it's yeah, like it was daunting for sure. And
100%.
like I was lucky in that, even just with the show itself, like having Damien and Phil to talk to, and then everybody I've met through this and through them, and Damien put me in touch with Bill Kennedy, and that was somebody I forgot to mention earlier. Bill Kennedy, he's been on the show before too, and Damien's always talking about him, and yeah, like he put me in touch with him, and just having all those resources available to you, like and to help you sift through that stuff online, because it's the networking that really helps in anything in life, right? Like
$100%.
if you've got a good network and then those people have good networks, like that's the best way to get through. But like I said, or like you said, with the whole Chessie thing, there's also the stuff you have to sift through is like those old ideas that have just been around and just regurgitated for decades, and you don't know if there's something to it, right? Like, how many people have probably not even considered a chassis for very long after everybody tells them how difficult they are, and there may be something to it, there may not be, but it's so yeah, like all that to say, like there's so much information, it can be super
100%.
super overwhelming.
Absolutely. Honestly, I think the biggest thing is whatever you're looking for, the best thing you can do, find an HRC club in your area. Doesn't even need to be in your area. If you're just looking for a dog, post on the page. You're new to dogs. You don't know anything about them. You're looking for a good litter, especially if you're on these private HRC pages. In Canada, we have many clubs: Ottawa Valley HRC, Luther Marsh HRC, which is out of the Guelph area, Push Lynch area, Georgian Bay HRC. I told you guys where we cover. You've got Essex HRC, and these are just a small fraction. You got Lake Ontario out in the Peterborough area, and we're one of the smallest regions in the HRC. They're all over the states. So you post on one of our pages. If you type in any of those names I just said, post on their group, one of their executive members will get in touch with you. They'll be able to give you the feedback. But I would say for anyone, if you're not looking to do that, you got to make sure that the dog has all the basic health clearances. Is the most important thing. Health clearances all the way through: hips, elbows, eyes, everything. You'll be able to find a list of it if you quickly Google it. You'll be able to
Yeah,
find whatever you need. The health clearances are such a big thing that people overlook. Um, I agree. Titles are great. They look great on paper, but the health clearances are what's important.
yeah, and that's
I
another
also
thing too. Or if you're new, like it's just knowing if somebody says, yeah, they've got their clearances, and if you haven't done any research, it's like they could give you one or two pieces of that, and you don't know that they haven't told you about the rest of it, sort of thing.
absolutely. You got to list 7, 8 different types, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then with that, the first thing that you should be looking at when you do pick the dog is how good of a trainer are you? If you're looking at a high performance litter, a field trial champion, a grand hunting retriever champion, those dogs got big shoes to fill, not just for the dog and for the puppy you're bringing home, but for you as a trainer, right? Like they got lineage, and I bet you those dogs will be able to push your buttons, especially if you're an amateur trainer trying to train such a high powered dog as a first dog, or just getting into the game, even just for hunting. They getting the wrong mentality and starting off on the wrong foot with a puppy is you're just setting yourself up for a lifetime of unsuccessful hunts and unsuccessful trials. So that's something to take into account too, knowing the type of dog you're going to bring home.
Aside from like the clearances and that, like if you're because the pedigrees was one thing that I got looking at. I was looking at pedigree information and seeing all the acronyms and stuff like that. So is there anything, and without getting into what they all mean, because people can look that up, and because there's a lot to look up, is there anything in particular that you would say like to look for, or like to look for in a positive way, or things to look out for that it's like, okay, yeah,
Absolutely. I try and look out for people that are like, people can do whatever they want. It's a free country, but I try to look out for dogs that, if they do have titles, like if that's what you're looking for, that they have legitimately high level titles, master hunters, hunting retriever champions, grand hunting retriever champions, national master hunters, field trial champions, QA2s. Essentially, what I'd be looking for is like a higher level. I'm not looking for, I have a 2-year-old pup. She's got a started title. It would say SHR, started hunting retriever. Somebody who's breeding a started dog to, either a hunting retriever, so a mid-level dog, or even to an HRCH. I don't feel like that's right. You should, these dogs should have an opportunity to, um, they're young dogs. They should have an opportunity to be able to go through that process. That's one of the things that we as a club, part of the HRC, is we look out for is the proper and betterment breeding of labs. That's one of the big things that we're looking out for. So, we're looking for dogs that have quality titles. We have the started hunting retriever. So that's your SHR. You have your hunting retriever, which is your HR. And then you have your hunting retriever champion, which would be your HRCH. If you wanted to go above that, would be your grand hunting retriever, GR, But I try and personally, if I'm looking for a dog, I'm looking for parent lineage that has HRCH primarily throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't personally buy a dog that has an HR or an SHR title, just strictly because the dog hasn't accomplished. And now these are just HRC titles that we're talking about. You have your field trial titles, you have your CKC, your Canadian Kennel Club titles. So I'd be looking for a CKC. I would primarily be looking for a master hunter level sire and dam. I wouldn't look at anything less than that. But that's personal preference. That's years of looking at other litters. It's quality in dogs. I want my dog to come from proven lineage. And it tells you not only the accomplishments of the dog, but to make it to that level, that tells you that the dog has good obedience, that, their lineage comes from good obedience. They're able to make it that far in the test. The whole purpose of the test is to showcase the dog's hunting ability. And part of the hunting ability isn't just going out and picking up ducks. Is the dog quiet? Is the dog attentive? Does the dog work with the handler when you're running a blind? These are all qualities that I look for, and I'm always watching for, as a handler and as a judge. But as somebody who's looking to buy a dog, I would definitely be looking for a higher level pedigree. Will tell me the teachability of the dog, and that's not always the case. But the majority of the time, the higher the pedigree, the more teachability there is, trainability, so to speak.
Yeah, there's like anything. There's always going to be those outliers. And even
100%.
when, when I know I've watched some of the older episodes that Damien's had, talking dogs and stuff like that. And one thing that they brought up a couple of times in the past was kind of on the opposite side. Like, yeah, you can have a great pedigree dog and it doesn't mean it's going to go well. And, when he was talking on a couple of podcasts, said, but there's also those farm dogs out there that somebody bought from Jim down the road that has nothing going on, no papers, and it turns out to be a great hunting companion for 10 years. And so so I think like that's one thing Damien had brought up in the past and said it to put out there, because I've seen it on the Facebook groups too, where people are like, just when you get talking pedigrees, people are like, my dog's fine, it doesn't have all that, and so again, it's good, like that can happen, but like the point you're coming from is like it's the health, it's the betterment of the breed and stuff. Yes. So not saying you've got to go buy the top dog or for for everybody's needs, but it's just there's reasons for that.
100%. There's a fella, his name's Jerry Wickens. He's in his 70s. He was a really good mentor to me when I first started getting into the game and learning about dogs. And he's an excellent dog trainer. And he told me about this time when he was younger. He was on a hunt, and this fellow, a friend of his, had a field trial champion, All-American, great dog. Pedigrees was excellent. As a competitor, fantastic dog, had never hunted before. They took him out in the boat. The owner wanted to hunt him, and this is a field trial dog, so they're used to seeing white coats out in the field. And the birds came in, and they dropped a couple of birds, and the dog's looking around and had no idea what was happening. But that's not a testament to the dog's ability. That's a dog that's never hunted. The hunting and running tests and trials are two completely different things. My dogs do both. And I tell you, when the hunting season's over, the first 6 weeks of training, getting back into what the expectations are for hunt tests and the trials that I'm doing, the 6 weeks are terrible. It's breaking all of those. When you're hunting, you're there to pick up ducks, and you're willing to let things go that you wouldn't do at a test, and to get back in the swing of things, to break those bad habits is just, it's unbelievable. So just because a dog can do one doesn't mean he can't do the other. And Jerry will tell you, by the end of the hunt, they had one guy, grabbing the dog's head so he could see the birds going down. Once that field trial dog figured it out, he said he was an ace. He was fantastic. Yeah. But it was teaching the dog, right? They had to spend that time, and one guy literally had to hold that field trial champion's head for it to realize, oh my God, there's no white coat. It's coming out of the sky. So, but that's just it's a trainability thing, right? Something the dog had never seen. So
you kind of touched on too, when you're talking about like kind of assessing what your needs and your availability and all that. And we were lucky when we got Maverick last summer. We got him on Father's Day, and we were lucky because like my wife works from home like 99% of the time. In summertime, like July, August is busy for me. I'm out walking potato fields most days, so it's like a lot of days I can't work from home. So we had that kind of built-in dog sitter, right? She was always here, sort of thing. So it was good, but like I wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit more as far as timing of purchasing a dog when you're looking at things like training. And so like right now, like Scott is sending Maverick home. He's supposed to be there for 4 months. He will have been there for 3 months, but he can't finish up the rest of the training right now. So he's coming home all maintained for a bit. And then when things get warm and there's water again and not ice and snow, Maverick will go back to finish up his training, like when there's fields and water that he can access.
Absolutely.
So is there kind of some better or ideals for when to get a dog? Like if you're looking at stuff like that, so that you're not, if you get them in October or something, and all of a sudden now you've got these harsh winter months where you can't get them out as much to maybe train, so that you're not necessarily starting behind or kind of shooting yourself in the foot, getting them at a particular wrong time of year.
Absolutely. I don't believe that there is a wrong time to get a pup. My last one, my 2-year-old or 1.5-year-old Tubby, I got her in October. Really good friend of mine, Jeff Williamson, Mutton Jeffs is his kennel name. He's got a national master hunter, and he bred to grand hunting retriever champion out of the States. His name's Wake. Really nice dog. They're both really nice looking yellows. I brought her home in October, and to be honest with you, the training was all in the basement or, in the house, because it's all so minor. Everybody thinks you got to go crazy right away. The first, 3-4 months it's all obedience. Everything's obedience. 90% of the game of these professional handlers, if it's all around, we call it the bucket. It's essentially the line where you're starting the test from. If you can master that line, everything else out there, you can teach that, but the obedience is the most important thing. So my dog, she was 6 months. She had never even done a retrieve before. She'd never seen a bird, nothing. It was strictly obedience, sit, heel, walking on heel, on lead, off lead, just really basic things. The biggest thing I can tell, honestly, an amateur like you and I, if you're not going to send your dog to a pro trainer, if that's not something that's either feasible, you want to do it yourself regardless, you want to join a club, that's fantastic. That's the number one thing, I believe. You got to get around people that are like-minded, want to do the same stuff as you. But the biggest thing that I can tell you is follow a program. There are excellent programs out there. Mike Lardy's one of them. He's been around a long time. There's many of them. I highly suggest get on a program and follow it, and don't worry about timelines. Everybody's dog progresses differently. If it takes you 10 weeks to master the first step, it takes you 10 weeks. It's not a competition. You're not competing with other dogs. You're there to make your dog better. And, I got into this whole field trial, HRC thing, HUD tests, strictly because I wanted a dog that when I went hunting, I was confident could pick up birds and not embarrass me and not make my life harder than it needed to be. And you get sucked in. It's a great world. There's great people in the HRC specifically, and you want to go out on the weekends and train with them, and you want to go out the weekend after and compete. And what I love about it is you're not competing dog versus dog in the HRC. It's a set standard. So all you need to do is go out there and have your dog meet that standard. You could have, if you have 30 dogs running, you could have all 30 that met the standard, or, you could have 6. Just, it depends on what people are bringing to the table.
Okay.
It takes away the human aspect of it, right? You get into field trials, and I'm not saying that this is the case, but you get the human side of, does the judge know that person? Is there politics involved? The HRC is a standard. As judges, we're judging it to a standard, and you as a handler are being held to a standard. So once you understand what that standard is for each level, what's great about the HRC is, they'll bring you through from step by step where you need to be. And especially if you're in a club, they have mentors in each club that'll, whether you want to hear it or not, they're going to tell you what they see. And if you don't want that, if you just want to come out and run your dog, we have that too, right? Most of us are people that just hunt. We want to go pick up ducks with our dogs, right? We want to go shoot pheasants on the farm and have them bring them back. So
yeah. And yeah, it's like if you're the guy showing up with the dog for a hunt, you want to get invited back and not have the
absolutely
not bring the problems with you, sort of thing, right?
100%, right? You got lots of people like my dog, my young dog, my first dog. I hunted her at 8 months, and it was a mistake. Dog did fine on the hunts. I had no issues. She picked up all the birds. It was October 31st. We were hunting out on Luther Marsh. We broke ice to get out there. This is going back 6 years now. We shot 8-9 ducks. The first time the dog went out, she brought back a decoy. That was kind of interesting. We went out in the boat, picked up the duck, kind of threw it, got her. Oh, she got it. Okay, this is what we're doing. And we had no issues. She brought back all the ducks. I didn't start to see any real training issues until probably she was 3. And we had been, my dogs, we hunt all the time. We hunt every weekend. This year was obviously a little bit less than normal. It was just a weird year the way the weather happened. But, we hunt a lot. And I went back to training, getting ready to run the finished level, which would be to get my hunting retriever champion. And I noticed I started having issues, things that I didn't have before. Now I'm all of a sudden having. Those are big things, right? Issues that come up through hunting, and trying to fix them after the fact, they take a long time to fix. So that's why, you've hunted with me. I'm real stern with my dog when I'm hunting. I'm trying to keep that dog under control, because I don't want to see bad habits develop. Bad habits are terrible to break. So anything I can do to avoid the dog getting any form of bad habit, I will do. I will make any correction I need to make, obviously within reason, but I will make any correction I have to do to make sure that dog understands that what my expectations are and what its expectations are of the hunt. So I think it's really important.
Like anything, right? That consistency for whether
Yes.
it's work, the kids, the dog, like it's the more relaxed you get, the more it just kind of starts to fall off the rails.
It does. And it happens fast, and you won't even know what happened until it's too late.
Yeah. And so I just want to take a step back. So we've kind of gotten into like the pedigree and all the things to look out for there and watch for. But so like, okay, you've picked your breed, you've picked your breeder, you've got the litter ready to go. What are you looking for when you show up to select your dogs? I remember hearing when I was a kid, and like I grew up with no dogs. We never had a pet dog when I was growing up or anything like that. But I just remember, I don't remember where it came from, but I heard some like guys would, take a couple of puppies and like, bash, smack their noses together to see which is the more aggressive one, and like choose whether you want the more aggressive one or the less aggressive. And like hearing about people, and it's funny, I was listening to one of the old episodes recently and heard the same thing. But like just walking into a litter of puppies and start banging stuff around to see which ones take off, which ones stay, which ones take a step and look back. So like I'm sure everybody, it's like, again, you've got these old ideas and old info. And so it's hard to know what's good info to use. And so what would you suggest when you're sitting there and there's either, a full litter of dogs, or you're down to the last 2 or 3 and you've got to choose one? What are some things that people should look for? And obviously it's going to be subjective, because everybody's going to have different needs or wants.
100%. And what I'm about to tell you, this is something that anybody can do. And it's not an opinion. I'm not giving you an opinion. I'm giving you a fact. You have a breeder that you're paying money to take one of their dogs from. That's going to be your part of your family. They have spent the first, how long? 2 months of the dog's life, right? 8 weeks with that dog. You're bringing the dog home around 8-9 weeks old. Talk to your breeder. Your breeder you should be having conversations about, this is a lifestyle that I have. This is the type of hunting that I do. I want to run hunt tests. I want to run field trials. I just want to hunt once or twice a year. I'm looking for the dog to cuddle up on the couch with me and my wife, or whatever your situation is. you should be talking to your breeder. The breeder spends every waking moment with those dogs for 8 weeks. Nobody will have a better understanding of each individual dog than that breeder, especially if it's a reputable breeder and they're watching their dogs and they're learning about them. And they'll be able to tell you. For example, my puppy that I just got from Jeff, I said I had one that he had one that was a yellow. It was like a ghost. It was white. And my wife and I went, oh, that is beautiful. We want that dog. And we wanted it, and we went and met her, and we love the puppy. And Jeff turned to me, he goes, Mike, he goes, with the stuff that we do, he goes, I think the dog might be a little bit too laxy daisy for you guys, what you're looking for. I don't know if you'll be able to achieve what you want to with it. He goes, I recommend one of these two, right? And that for me was like my wife and I, Rachel, we looked at each other and went, hey, we're trusting, we trusted Jeff to bring us to this point here. We're not going to, and Jeff's an excellent dog trainer. He's had really good dogs, a lot of success, and he trains hard. I've trained with him many times. He knows what he's doing. Why would I not take him as the breeder? His opinion should be the most important thing I'm looking at. A lot of people, I have some old friends where they do they'll bring something, a fluffy toy or a duck wing or something. They'll throw it. The first dog that picks it up, that's the dog they're picking. I have another friend that he kind of, like you were saying, kind of messes around with the dogs, and the first one to bite him is the one that he takes. That's just his preference. I personally believe, all that stuff aside, the breeder will help you select the dog. Talk to your breeder. If it's a good breeder, they should be able to say, these are the 3, 4 you should be looking at. Any one of those will suit you, for example, right? Depending on the situation. But that's my opinion.
When we went and chose Maverick, like we were down to it was the last 2 puppies. And because I had been humming and hawing, and because I saw this litter come up, and so and it wasn't an impulse, because I've been looking at dogs for years now, right? And just always talking myself out of it. And so I saw this litter, and I was interested in the litter, and but when I reached out and said, hey, when are these available? They're like, this weekend. I'm like, ooh, I don't want to just jump at a dog just because, right? It's like, well, I've got to I got to take it now, because it's otherwise they'll be gone. So it turned out some of the dogs were already spoken for, and then they were going out the following weekend, but then he was holding a couple back. And so we got down to the last 2, and there was one other buyer out of province, and that person didn't care which one they got, and it was going out. It was, as far as I know, it was going out to a guide. So we get out there, and we're looking at me and the kids get into the cage with the puppies, and they're running around. Of course, both puppies are over, just ripping on the kids' shoelaces and that. And I'm just standing off to the side, just kind of watching, pretending like I have any idea what I'm looking for. And one was this big, the other one was this big, right? One was literally half the size. And not runtish, just it's you could tell the big one was a big dog, and he just seemed like a brute. But then the smaller one actually finally turned and looked at me and came over and paid me any attention. The other dog didn't give a shit about me, and I was watching me. He just looked like a bruiser. So I'm like, yeah, it's I don't need that assertive of a dog, right? It's probably gonna be too much for me. So I took the little one that finally came over and said hi, and that was Maverick that we chose. And so far, I've been happy with his temperament and everything like that. And again, for not knowing what I was doing, I was having pretty good luck with him at home, just doing little bits here and there. And since he's been off with Scott, I get the occasional update. And for the first while, I think he was being pretty stubborn, and I don't think he cared for the gloved hand and all that. I don't think Maverick cared for that at all. But I think once he got into going out and picking up on personality, I think things started to go fairly smoothly. So we'll see. And I'm anxious to get out with Scott on the weekend and train a bit and get his opinion, just to not that it matters now, right? But it's just say hey, what's your opinion of this dog? It's because again, I'm not looking to have a a huge dog that's going to go out and do all this amazing stuff. Would it be great if he can? Sure, but I'm a pretty casual hunter, and like you said, it's just I want to be able to go out, make use of the dog to make sure I'm retrieving the birds and opening up opportunities to hunt areas that I wouldn't have been able to do without a dog, and to do it in a way that keeps him safe and keeps him engaged, and not pissing him off, not pissing me off, and even though it'll happen, but I'm excited to kind of see what comes next, sort of thing, after I get through all the nerves of having to bring this partially trained dog home and not blow it between now and the spring when he goes back.
Well, the one piece of advice, if I can give you or anybody who's got a dog at a trainer, if you have your dog there and they pass you the dog and say, "Here's your dog, see you later," ask some questions. Get involved. I know when you go to pick up your dog from Scott, I know the way Scott is. He's going to have something, even if it's very minor, some heeling drills, some sitting drills, minor retrieving. He'll give you some tips on how to correct the things that he's already been dealing with, right? Especially in your position where you're bringing your dog home for X amount of time and he's going back because he's not finished the training yet, right? So you want to try and keep up that standard. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do it the exact same, but really watch Scott, the way he's doing things, the tone of voice that he's using, the assertiveness, the corrections. The big thing is the corrections, knowing when to make a correction, how to make the correction, and the proper force that needs to be made on that correction. Especially your dog who's through force fetch, which is, in my opinion, absolute necessity. Every dog that's retrieving should be force fetched, I believe. And dog that's through that, they'll test you. I'm telling you. I had when I brought both, I force fetched my second dog. My first dog, I had her force fetched from a friend of mine, Tyler Wilson, and he told me she might test you, right? You'll drop a bumper at your feet, or you got to make sure you right away you make that correction so the dog knows that it's not just with the trainer, that it has to be, bringing it, delivering to hand, for example, right? It's this is the standard, doesn't matter who it is. And with doing, for anyone who's never force fetched a dog, get somebody to force fetch your dog.
It's funny. It's like everybody says the same thing. It's like, and again, like I remember in one of the episodes with the guys from Barrows Outdoor, Mike, he said the same thing. He's like, when I was talking about sending him away, he's like, well, yeah. He's like, I assume that whoever you're sending him to, it's a force fetch program. He's like, and if it's not, find a different trainer.
Yeah, I think that it's most of the issues that I've seen, even, I'm a younger guy watching these older guys that have the wisdom standing behind people, trying to get them to help them make corrections when we're at training days and helping other hunters. It's most of the time it's a force fetch issue. And, everyone thinks that the force fetch is strictly for that dog has to pick up the bird and bring it right back to you. There's so much more involved in the force fetch and what it does to the dog and the way it trains the dog's mind. It's a really, really good tool. I force fetched my younger dog, and it was the force fetch shouldn't take it as long as it took me. It took me almost 12 weeks probably. I did it really slow. I was learning, videotaping every single segment of it, sending it off to the guys that were helping that did my first dog and helping me do this one, getting their tips and feedback. And the big thing was take it really slow, make sure you do it right. It took me a while. It took me a really long time, and it was the hardest training I've ever had to do with a dog.
Yeah.
Most deflated I've ever been as a trainer. My wife was deflated. It was a really hard time. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it through. And then one day it just clicked.
Yeah.
Same thing, same process. All of a sudden, my younger daughter name's Tubby, and she looked and went, "Oh my God, whack!" And she smacked that bird. And actually, I think it was a toy. It was a fluffy toy, and it was okay. That's, and you work through the cycles of it. But if you've never force fetched a dog, you can try, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. There's lots of videos out there on how to do it, but follow a program. A pro trainer's program will take you leaps and bounds farther than watching random YouTube videos and watching bits and pieces of everybody. Pick a program, start from the beginning, and stick with it all the way through. I've been training dogs for a while. This is the first dog I've trained from scratch all by myself. I'm on a program as well, the Bill Hillman program. Most trainers that have been doing it a long time find his training a little bit slower. For a new guy like me and you, it's excellent. He's very slow. He goes through every aspect of the training, why he's doing it, the location of why he chose that location to do the training, how he's making corrections. It's very slow, kind of dry, but it's really good for people that don't know the terms. He goes through everything with you. I had my dog doing things at 3 months old that a lot of people that are in a similar program can't do at 6 months. Now that's my dog. every dog is individually different. I could have been doing the same program with a different dog, and it could have taken X amount of time. And what I like about Bill is he'll tell you that right in the program. This dog is 3 months old. This is what it's doing. I have one that's 6 years old in the same program at the same level. It doesn't matter the age of the dog and the time of how long it takes the dog. It takes however long it takes. And that's one thing that I really liked about the Bill Hillman program. His puppy program is excellent. Excellent. It's renowned, really well-renowned program. So
kind of just to touch on that, if you can, just quickly, because we've talked a lot about force fetching. Just give a good, quick breakdown of what force fetching really is for anybody who doesn't know, and to give them an idea of like why it's so tedious.
It's a process essentially of making the dog take the command that you're giving it, even though it doesn't want to. So typically starts off on a table. Some people use a table. Some people do it at ground level. There's many different ways of doing it. So it's like skinning a deer. Many different ways. You can start the front, the back, the middle. So there's different ways of doing it. But the whole aspect of it is to get the control aspect on the dog. The understanding that when I say do something, it means now. Right. So that's the premise, I believe, behind it. Some people start with a glove. I know, I believe Rumble starts that way with a glove in the mouth. I don't. I was just never taught that way. I start with a paint roller. People have different ways of doing it. You use different tools. Essentially, you start with whatever tool you start with, and you work your way through. So I'll go from a paint roller to a dowel, and a dowel to a small bumper, and a bumper to a small doken, and from a small doken, I'll go to a small duck. And then from a small duck, I'll go to a larger duck. And from a larger duck, I go to a stinky duck. And when I say stinky, I'm not talking a merganser. I'm talking about a regular duck that I have sitting in my garage at 30 degrees for a day and a half. And that'll really tell you when you have your force fetch done, when you tell that dog fetch and it's got a stinky, rotten duck in its mouth and it's looking at you like, are you kidding me? but it does everything you ask. And there's no pullback, there's no fight about it. It's you said fetch, I'm fetching, right? That's the premise of it. I take it from the table, and then I translate it to the ground, right? And then now it's kind of like you have to do that whole process over again at the ground level. It doesn't take near as long because the dog already has a general understanding of it. And then from at your side or in front of you on the ground, you go to your side, and from your side, then that translates into some people call it a walking fetch. I personally don't do it in a walking style. I kind of throw it more as like throw the bird or the duck out in front of me and then say fetch, so it understands that I said pick it up. It doesn't matter where it is, you pick it up, right? So there's so much to force fetch, and it's such a tedious part of training. And if you've never done it before or have never watched anybody do it, you likely shouldn't be doing it. You should be sending your dog away to get force fetch because it's really easy to mess up. And it's
and then,
really
how do you build on top of that if you haven't gotten that foundation?
You have a bad foundation, the whole building comes down, right? So it's really important to make sure it's done properly, done by a professional. A lot of trainers, you can find them they'll allow you to sit in on it and figure out how it works. But it's a process, and it's not a fun process. It's probably one of the hardest parts of dog training is going through that force fetch.
That's what I've heard even from guys who it's like once they become comfortable training and they're on their second, third, or more dogs, it's like they'll still send it off or have somebody work on the force fetching, and they'll take care of it after that.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so many ways of doing it. I personally use an ear pinch. Some guys use a toe hitch. Some guys don't use either one. There's many different types out there. So
I just happened to see a video today of the toe pinch. I'd never seen that. I've always again, very inexperienced, but like anything I've heard or seen has always been the ear pinch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's very effective. I know many trainers that do it that way. It's just a different way of doing it, right? Like I said, different way to skin a deer. It's the same thing. So it's just which way you feel comfortable and the way you're taught. Realistically, most people that do force fetch dogs are taught from someone else, and it's normally the way your teacher taught you is the way that you do it. My teacher taught me with the ear pinch. That's the way I do it, and I've only done one dog, so by no means am I a professional. Would I force fetch anybody else's dog? I'll help people through the process the same way I was helped, but I'm not. I wouldn't be taking
Yeah.
anybody's dog to force fetch and say that, yeah, I'm a pro trainer. That's just, I'm not at that level yet. I'm always learning, taking in what I can, and I've had really good teachers, and God willing, they continue to teach me. But I don't think I'm at a level where I'd be able to force fetch somebody's dog comfortably and say, yeah, your dog's force fetch. Here, give
Yeah.
me your money.
Yeah. Now, one other thing I wanted to ask too and get your opinion on, and I know I've brought this up on some of the other podcasts, is like, in your opinion, what are the basics? Like, what are the needs when you're bringing that dog home? So you've chosen that puppy, you're taking it home. What do you want to make sure you've got when the day you're bringing it home? Because like there's a ton of products out there. There's so much shit for pets and working dogs, and some of it is just complete garbage and shit and
It
a waste
is.
of money. And people just want to like, I struggle with my wife all the time. Even earlier, my youngest son was saying like, yeah, mom and I are going out tonight. We're going to buy a new toy for Maverick for when he comes home. I'm like, we're not getting back into this where every time you leave the house, you have to buy the dog something else. But it's like, cause there's so much stuff. So like when you're bringing that puppy home, what do you need to have when you're bringing it home? What are your needs versus like all the other stuff that you just want to buy?
Your needs and wants are very different. I'm a firm believer, and I'll say this to anybody who's listening, your dog should be crate trained. That's it. At end of discussion. Your dog should be crate trained. So you need a crate, you need bowls, and you need a slip lead. That's what I believe that you need. Everything else is really just a big show, and obviously your food and whatnot. But that's your essential training tools. That's all that you need when you bring that dog home. And the dog goes in the crate when you pick the dog up. It doesn't ride home on your lap. My wife is similar to you. It sounds like your wife and son. Every time she goes to the store, she's bringing home dollar
Yeah.
toys for the dog, and they last about 30 seconds, and I throw them out. So she now brings home like a bag from Value Village, and we know that, we once a week she'll pull a toy out, and it lasts 30 seconds. They're happy, and I throw it away in a minute later. But the dog's happy for a minute. It makes my wife happy to get them.
And
Pick and
especially
choose
because
your battles.
when they're brand new and they've got those sharp little damn teeth,
Yeah,
like it's
100%.
like, oh, I bought this toy. It's supposed to be indestructible. It's like, but so was the last 10 that you bought.
100%.
Like you didn't learn.
Yeah, and you wait till you get a second dog. Then your whole life will be WWE. My dogs wake up in the morning. My young one, she's in a kennel. My other one sleeps on a bed. She's 2 years old. She's still in a kennel. I just started opening the door at night. I leave it open, so it's open. She stays in the kennel. She's fully crate trained, and she knows she doesn't come out of the kennel till I call her. But you bet, the second my wife or I says her name in the morning, it's on like
Yeah.
Donkey Kong. WWE, they're fighting, playing, and it never ends. And with toys, it's unbelievable. It's so fun to watch. We lost power for a couple days here last winter, and I think it was 3 days straight. And my wife and I sat on the couch, drinking with our blankets on. It was freezing cold, and we just watched these two idiots just play for hours. And it was so entertaining. We laughed and laughed, and it was so much fun to watch them just being dogs, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's why you got them. They're there to be your dogs. So it's so nice to see.
So on top of the crate training too, because like I did that with Maverick, same thing. We bought him a tiny little crate, and he went in that on the drive home and slept. Like it was a 3+ hour drive home. Like he slept the whole way, no issues. And first night was awful. I know I've said it on another episode when I first brought him home, that like I had no idea the noises that puppies could make. Like it was awful. but it was only one night. Second night, my wife
you got lucky.
Oh man, it was so easy.
You got lucky.
Yeah, like I was up all night with him the first night. Second night, my wife Carrie, she got up a couple times. The third night, like I set my alarm to get up and go take him out, and from that day on, perfectly fine. Like, we had no issues, and yeah, he loves his kennel, and but like on top, like other than the crate training them and having the kennel there for them, keeping them, thinking safety wise, like when you're bringing that puppy home. And then maybe talking about like the transition period, because now that's where I'm at. Like tomorrow and Saturday is me going around the house with the kids, picking everything up. So like what are some suggestions you've got for around the house, for outside, for when you're bringing that puppy in, or then again, when you're bringing them, if you did send your dog out for professional training, when you're bringing them home, what's that transition look like?
Before I answer that, I just want to touch on what you said about the dog making noise in the kennel. If you have a new puppy and you bring that dog home and you've just let the dog out, you close the door and the dog starts howling right away. Ignore the dog. No matter how difficult it is, Trust me, I'm a sucker for it. My first dog, I slept on the friggin' floor like an idiot with my fingers through the kennel for 2 weeks
I did
until
this
she
for
finally
the
stopped
one
crying.
night.
But yeah, but do not open that door. By you giving in to what they want, you are telling them that if they make noise, they're going to get what they want. And that doesn't just translate as a puppy. You watch a lot of dogs when they get noisy, when you're hunting, that's the worst thing you can have is birds working and the dog starts howling. And because they want it. They want it so bad. They have that. And as soon as you get into it, you're telling them that that's okay, that noise is fine. So you got to start that right from when they're young. They make noise. Let them calm down. Once they calm down, you want to go out and open that kennel door up and let them outside. That's fine. But I don't let my dog out. If they're howling, they're not coming out of the kennel. They're making any noise. They ain't coming out till they're quiet. So that's real important. Now, in terms of what you said in when you're bringing your dog home, make it very clear what's acceptable and what's not. I start puppy training, potty training right away. That dog, as soon as I see it's, you should be letting that dog out you're going to laugh. It's probably about every 15, 20 minutes for the amount of water that they drink. You're kind of, you see her start moving around after it laid down right away. Pick that puppy up right outside and give them a little treat every time that they go outside. That's great, and go through that process for the first week and really make it clear that you want the dog going outside. And then you can start to get, make more intense corrections, telling them no and make them go outside. And what they can and can't chew is a big thing too.
Mm-hmm.
So we make it very clear, my dog starts chewing on a baseboard, there's going to be hell to pay, and they know it right away. And you don't have to be, you don't have to be throwing stuff at them or smacking them or anything you don't have to do that. Your voice is so important and how you use it and how you talk to that dog. I can look at my dog a certain way and they'll know I'm not happy with them. It's all about that bond you create with the dog, right? So your Maz been away with Scott for a while. You're going to have to rebuild that bond you have, just like I had to do with my first dog. And they're going to have to understand the way you do it and the way Scott does it. And don't matter which way, as long as they're doing it, that's what's important. But rebuilding that bond. My little one that I train myself, she does something, I can look up at her and just yell no. And it's like, oh God, here we go, right? She knows, right? And that's the big thing is set that standard right away. Don't let the puppy's so cute, it's okay, it doesn't matter. No, it's a puppy. It's always in training.
Yeah.
And
another that thing, stuff drove me nuts. Like, and it's good because and Damien had always told me right, like well in advance, like make sure Carrie and the kids were on board and not doing the undermining you kind of stuff. And so it was good because they got on board with everything, including like when we're out, if somebody else was walking the dog or have them at one of the kids' baseball games, because everybody that wants to come up and he starts jumping on them and everybody's like, oh no, it's okay, he's just a puppy. And I'm like, and they're like, you're trying to deal with him, but like I've had like I literally yelled at this old lady one time because I was on this on the walking trail near our place. She was out with her daughter and like she just wouldn't listen, and she thought I'm talking to the dog, and like I yelled at her. I'm like, no, I'm talking to you. Like leave him alone. Like just take a step back, because like she's just riling him up, and I'm like, and I think at that time too, I had at one point I went to a prong collar, and so like, the same thing. Like she's riling him up. I'm like, he's got like you're gonna hurt him, right?
Absolutely. And God forbid he hurts her. That's all you need, right?
Yeah.
So no, there's lots of tools out there for teaching dogs to heel and whatnot. I use a prong collar, not always, but at certain points during the training. If I have a dog, my little one, she's done well with healing. My bigger one, she needed a prong collar. Every dog is different. They all need different tools to be successful. It's about knowing what tools they need, how to use that tool, and how much to use the tool.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a big believer in the collar. I did a skit for Punisher actually at the Sportsman Show last year. We did some talks the Toronto Sportsman Show about dogs, and the big thing that we talked about is these guys getting these big fancy collars that work up to 1 kilometer long. Well, I tell you, even my champion dog, I give her a call or give her a cast outside of 150 yards. Good luck. And me hitting that, it doesn't matter how much I turn that collar up. It's not going to change her mind to take the correct call. The dog's not trained to go beyond X amount of yards. You can't expect it to do what you're asking it to do perfectly out past that amount of yards, right? So that comes in with the training, and it's knowing when to use the tool and when not to. The one thing I can say is if you're a guy that has pent up anger and You want perfection, put the collar away. You don't need the collar, right? Everything that you're doing out there, you should master within 10 yards of you, where that dog is within, either a long line or within a leash distance where you can make that correction. If you can't do it here, there's no way you can do it out there.
Yeah.
No way. So,
Yeah.
and
Well, that
start
makes
small.
sense.
Everybody thinks you got to go out there, throw big marks and do big blinds. You know what? Most of you go to these big competitions and like the real big ones, and stuff isn't really that long. It's a lot of factors in a short period, and that's what you're being tested on. So,
Okay.
I would say that the collar is a great tool. Know how to use it and know when not to use it is the bigger thing, right? That you should not be getting anything more than a little yip out of a dog it's too much pressure. It's too hot of a collar. What you're really looking for is a slight twitch in the head, and that tells you you're on the perfect setting where that dog's like, oh, okay, I got it, right? Just enough of a feeling. And part of if you're running a program, if your dog's not at a trainer, the Bill Hillman program, they go through all of that, starting the dog wearing a collar as a puppy, so it's used to having it on, and it's not even on. Just the collar is on, but the power's not on. And then you go through the stimulation levels, and you start on a beep, and then you go to a 1 and a 2, and the dog will tell you. It'll tell you signs. My 6-year-old dog, I hit her on a 1, which is I can keep it on my hand consistently, and it's a very, very light stimulation, and I'll get a yip out of her on a 1.
Really?
My 1.5-year-old puppy, she's on like a 3.5, and I can't even get a head twitch out of her.
Yeah.
But every dog is different, and that's why you need to know your dog, know what you've trained for, and not have expectations beyond your training. That's the big thing. So.
And with that, you've already talked a lot. We've talked about it before, just the benefits of sending them away and choosing a trainer. And for me, one of the big hang-up, and I knew I always would, because I knew I wouldn't have it in me to train, like, my very first pet ever, to go through all of it. But one of the big hang-ups for me was the bond, right? Like at least once I realized that you have that dog for 6 months already before it's going off to a professional trainer, then it's like, okay, like that makes sense. Like you've had a chance. But for somebody who either, they can't afford to send it off to a trainer, or they just ultimately they want that experience, whether it's their first dog or they've had a bunch, they want that experience of doing it themselves. And because I totally get that, like that satisfaction of anything to do with hunting, right? Like from anything from scratch, where you've gone out and you've scouted the birds, you've gotten the permission, you've set up your own hunt, and then you walk away with a stringer of birds. Like there's that satisfaction of doing something from the beginning to the end. And no different with the dog too, right? Like if you can bring a puppy home at 8 weeks old and train it, and you take it out and it can go do everything you want it to do, like that's got to be hugely
awesome.
satisfying, right? So
Unbelievably.
for those people that want to do that, and that for whatever reason you're not going to talk them into sending the dog off to a pro trainer, like is there beyond? And you've already talked about like the programs. There's lots of different programs out there. Like Scott put me on to the Duck Dog Basics, and like it's great and it's simple. Beyond that, and just doing your research, are there any other kind of key things for the do-it-yourself guy that you 100% have to look into, or that you need to consider?
Join a club. HRC, CKC, field trial, doesn't matter. Join your local retriever club. You need like-minded people, and it's not even just for you as a new handler or somebody new in the game. It's for your dog. Your dog being around other dogs that are in training or well-trained, having that environment is so important to the dog's future and its growth, and seeing other dogs doing things, and it's so important. Join a club. It costs nothing. Our club is, I think it's $40 or $35 for the year.
$35 for a family.
That for a family, and then you have to buy an OFA membership. Oh my God. You get access to 300 pristine acres in Tiny that you can go and hunt on anytime. We hunt on Tiny Marsh as well. We train on Tiny Marsh as well. The clubs have so much to offer beyond hunt tests. Luther Marsh is a good example of one. They have they host one of the largest hunt tests in Ontario,
Okay.
but they have a really good group of long-term members, been in the club for 30 plus years. They know how to train dogs. They know what's going on. Um, they're a really good club. Our club, a little bit of a different demographic. We're kind of going in a new direction now. We're really pushing Ben Leger. He was our past president. He was a big he's a big shed guy. He's got
Shed hunter.
he's got some of the best shed dogs in Canada. And I'd never done that before. He's teaching us how to teach our I had a 6-year-old dog, never picked up a shed before, and she brought home a deadhead. I'll tell you a quick story about that. We were out shed hunting, and my dog, she doesn't go more than 60 yards. We're walking through the bush. It's just her and I. Really nice day. First time ever doing it. And she goes down in this valley. And I'm walking down the side. I'm a little bit of a bigger boy, and I'm walking a little slower. And I'm like, hey, I haven't seen the dog. That's weird. I put the whistle in the mouth. Tweet, tweet. Dog doesn't come back. Tweet, tweet. She doesn't come back. I go, okay, that's weird. Really, this dog is really well trained. She's, she doesn't go far. I'm going, this is really weird. She had the collar on. I hit the collar on a 2. And normally that's enough to get her attention. Nothing. I hit it on a 3. All of a sudden I hear a yip. She's about 80 yards in front of me down in the bottom of this gully. What the hell is she doing down there? And I'm thinking she's hurt or she's stuck or, swamp in there. I start, my big body running down this hill. We're like waddling, I guess, but I get all the way down there and, she doesn't have a deer, or she doesn't have an antler. She's got the whole damn deer carcass, Jesus. Legs, the whole thing. She's dragging it up the side of the hill. Here I am with the stupid collar trying to get her to come back. She's dragging a whole damn deer to me.
After she's probably already rolled in it and everything.
But yeah. Oh yeah. She was in heaven, and she's looking at me like, why the hell you I thought this is what we're doing. I tell you, I've never been so happy in my life to see the success. Ben took me out for one day, and we got the dog picking up antlers, and it was okay. Now she's not picking up antlers; she's picking up whole deer. That's awesome. Yeah. Really cool.
That's one thing I'd like to look into later on, because I'll hunt. Like, I'm not just a waterfowl hunter. Like, growing up, like, I would just, if there's an opportunity, I want to go hunting. Absolutely. So it's like I'd like to be able to just kind of go. There's just lots of grouse around here, but like they're pretty skittish. So like trying to hunt grouse in this area without a dog, like even if you do get within range and actually hit one, like then you got to find the damn thing, right? Or woodcock. Absolutely. Too. Like I'm always putting woodcock up, but like if you shoot one of those, you're not going to find it on the ground by yourself. So like, and the shed hunting's cool, and that'd be something cool for the kids to do. So like I want to look at that in the future. It's just my concern with not having any experience is then, okay, like if I focus on this, my concern would be like, now if I'm trying to do too many things and then creating bad habits, or just, you might be okay at 3 different things instead of being really good at one thing, sort of.
Absolutely. Thing. And that depends on your preference. For me, I'm like you. I deer hunt, I bear hunt, we turkey hunt, waterfowl, upland. We do a little bit of everything. And I'm not looking for my dog. My dog currently, she's not going to be my older dog. She's not going to be anything more than what she is. And that's why I got into the sheds a little bit later. I really focused on getting her all of the waterfowl titles that I wanted to get on her, the HRC stuff. And now we're playing a little bit in the sheds, and the sheds is a lot of fun. And where I got access to a beautiful property in the Caledon area, and we're successful normally every year with deer hunting, turkey as well. So it's we take the dog out and we just walk, and we walk for hours, and it's great, really, really good. So it just depends on your lifestyle, and pick what you want to do. There's lots of different games out there. You don't need to just do one specifically. You can, I do a little bit of each, and I'm not great at any of them, but I get by. I have fun with it. I'm out there to have a good time and meet new people, and the dog world is such a small place. Like I said earlier, you really need to be true to yourself, and if you don't know something, say you don't know it. Don't, there are really good people out there that are willing to help you if you're willing to accept that you don't know everything and that you're learning, right? Yeah. So, that's one thing I've definitely taken away from this. It's been a good learning experience for me. I've left tests, in tears, because I was so upset with my dog and with myself for the way that we performed. And you come back and the people will tell you, you done acting like an idiot. Let's go out and train, and let's fix what happened. As a young guy when I first got into it, and I really took it very emotional. Italian, very emotional. It's in our blood. Mm-hmm. So it really was a big point for me of, what, I'm not going to pass every test, and my dog's not going to pick up every antler, and it's not going to get every duck. And that's one thing to realize too. Every dog has its abilities, and understand those abilities, And you can push the abilities and push the brink of it, but know your limit, stay within it.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. So, if you sink it, if you're hunting, you shoot a bird and it lands 150 yards away and you're on Mav's first hunt, get in the boat, go pick up the duck yourself. You're
Yeah.
not out, you're not here to prove anything. You're only going to make yourself frustrated trying to get the dog to get there, especially if it's one that, if you're even questioning it, if you even look at it and go, I don't know,
Yeah.
that'll tell you right there, get in the boat and get the dog, or,
Yeah.
run out of the blind, go pick up the bird. Bring the dog with you. Let the dog see where it happened, get the dog involved, but set your dog up for success. I love when, Jerry, I've spoken about him, Jerry and Tyler, they're real big on, they've always told me, don't be out here trying to do things that you've never trained the dog to do. You can't expect the dog to do something that you've never trained it to do. So if that means, if you've never thrown a bird 300 yards in the air and said, go get it, don't expect the dog to be able to do that on a hunt. Trainability, train for what your hunting scenario is. I hunt a lot on a boat. 75% of the hunting I used to do was all public land hunting on water. We never trained on a boat. My dog I couldn't get her to come up a ladder. We ended up actually going to the cottage one weekend, and not my cottage, a friend of mine's, and he brought his duck boat up, and we had the dog ladder, and we threw bumpers all weekend. Got the dog picking them up out of the boat, coming up the ladder, and that one weekend set the dog up for such a long, successful season of just something so simple as the dog jumps out of the boat, picks the bird up, and it doesn't know how to get back in the boat. Did you? And I was so frustrated the first time this happened to me. And Jerry looked at me and goes, "Did you teach the dog to use the ladder?" What do you mean? Did I teach it? You teach the dog. You can't expect them to know these things, right? And it's a whole new environment too. We train, most of the training you do is either on water, but it's on the edge of a shore, or it's in a field, right? So the dog never, has the dog been in a boat? Is it your first time? Is the dog's first time in a boat? These are all things that every situation is different. The more the dog can see, the better it'll be for the hunt and for your future as well.
Yeah.
So
You got to train for those situations. It's like people that never practice, like sitting up in a ground blind or shouldering in a ground blind. Then you go up for the first time and it's just a disaster, right?
100%.
The mechanics aren't there, and so we'll wrap up soon, and I want to ask you more about the kind of the testing world and stuff like that, and understand that. But before we do, is there anything else trainer wise? Like you talked about, find a trainer that's going to force fetch. So you want a force fetch program that is on a program. Again, any last thoughts of what you want or don't want? If you are, so we've talked about the guy that wants to do it themselves, but for the people that want to send it to a trainer. Again, there's lots of people out there offering services for all different things. Like, how do you find the right person? For me, I was lucky. Everybody said Scott was the guy. So like for months, I already knew that was my plan. But if you're in a different area or you just don't have that access, or Scott's unavailable or something, what should people look for or watch out for?
It's a really good question, and it's a loaded question, and I'm going to try and answer it as politically correct and as honest as possible. Know what you're getting into with your trainer, right? You're not going to get an update every day from them. A lot of people think, oh, they're going to text me every day of what the dog's doing, whatnot. They're out there training your dogs every day, and when they get home, they're tired, right? And that's acceptable. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but know how many dogs has the trainer that you're looking at train. What's his pricing? That's a big thing for people too. Pricing wise, what are you getting for your buck? How many dogs does that trainer have? I'll give you an example. Scott takes, let's say on average, he takes 5 dogs at a time, right? You want that dog to be training. If you're training, let's say he trains 5 hours a day, each dog is going to get an hour's training, which is, by the way, is completely unrealistic to what you're going to get. Most dogs that are 6 to 7 months old, they can't handle more than 15 minutes of hard training, every half a day. You're likely going to get a half an hour max of good training a day, mentally, right? They're young, they're puppies, they're growing, right? You can't expect your dog to be doing an hour of training when it's a puppy, So that's one of the big things I look at is how many dogs does that trainer have on his truck, right? How much is it costing me, right? The big thing that I look for is trust. You need to have a trainer that you can look in the eye, face to face. He's going to tell you not what you want to hear, but where your dog's at, and have legitimate expectations, not only for what you want the trainer to do for your dog, but also for yourself of what you want out of that dog as well, right? And I'm not saying you can't expect a dog that has no pedigree to be successful, because that's not what I'm saying at all. But know what you're getting, right? If you have a dog that's, let's say, all its lineage is very, very low, you can't expect to right away have that field trial dog, right? It's, a lot of it's bred into them, but a lot of it is trained into them, and it's how you as a handler and as a pro trainer are willing to put into it. Every handler has pro trainer has their own way of doing things. A lot of people say, oh, they washed out my dog, right? Well, it may have washed out with this pro trainer, but you could send it to Rumble, for example, and it might work the way that he trains. It might click for the dog,
Yeah.
and it won't be a washout, right? So knowing the type of dog you have with that type of trainer, is that what you're looking for? And I would say, if don't be discouraged by somebody telling you that your dog's washed out. I know of a good friend of mine. He had a dog that was supposedly a washout, and that dog now it's guiding for him full time. It's doing a really good job.
Nice.
It was with Rumble for a little bit. It was with my friend Tyler for a little bit, and it's really been successful. Eddie's been a really nice dog. Turned out to be a really good dog, and he was a washout, quote unquote. So it's every trainer has their way of doing things. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but you need to find a trainer that works not only with you, but with your dog, and they're able to build that bond. The bond with you is just as important as with the trainer, especially if you want to instill their ability to be able to do that, right? To take that on. So that's important.
And so, yeah, like the last thing I really wanted to touch on, and we don't have to take a lot of time for it just because it can be its own show altogether, I'm sure. But like, again, with the trials and the different types of testing and that, first, I'm still like, I joined the club because it's like $35 a year. I don't know what I'm doing. I've gotten to meet guys like you and Nick, and I went out for one training day so far before the winter really set in and before I sent Maverick away. And that was hugely helpful just for the couple of retrieves that he got to do. But like, I'm still up in the air whether I'll bother running him through tests and stuff like that, because like, I don't know anything about it. I don't know the benefits of it. And again, one of the guys, I think it was Mike from Barrows Outdoors, said like, there's nothing you're going to do in that training or those tests that's going to harm you for hunting. But
Correct.
like, yeah, if you're only hunting, like, you can definitely damage that dog hunting going the other way. So he said there's no real
Absolutely.
downfall of it. But like, I'm sure like there's costs associated with it, and there's bragging rights and stuff like that. And especially if you're breeding, obviously like those titles go towards that. For like myself, I don't have breeding rights to Maverick. He's not going to breed. So I'm like, okay, like I would like to do it, to run the test, maybe for fun, maybe it's a new hobby sort of thing, but kind of weighing out whether it's worthwhile, whether whether it's worth it in the long run for just basically just something to do, knowing that his titles are like, actually, first, that's the question: does he get titles? Can you run a dog like that? It doesn't have breeding rights or anything like that. Like, I'm assuming you can run
Absolutely.
through these tests and they're titled and everything.
Absolutely. Yep. You can definitely run your dog through. It doesn't matter whether you have breeding rights or not. Um, breeding rights are a really, really touchy subject. I have my first dog. I don't have the breeding rights to her. I actually had to. Part of the agreement was I had to have her fixed before she was a year old. Um, I don't believe in the breeding clauses. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, for many different reasons. The main reason is I believe that why a lot of breeders won't give you the breeding rights is because they want to keep that lineage. I know they've spent a lot of money to get that line and get it to where it is. I personally don't agree with it. If I'm buying if I'm buying a dog from you, I'm buying the dog, the whole dog, including the breeding rights for the dog. I think that's I'm paying you a lot of money, between $2,000 and $25 or $3,000. It's a lot of money, and I believe that if I'm buying the dog, I should get the rights to that dog. I don't think that that's fair for a breeder to say that, no, you can't breed your own dog, because, and I understand the part of it too of, people that don't know what they're doing trying to breed dogs, and that aspect of it too. But, if I think that having a conversation with your breeder, and if they're a good breeder and you're doing a lot with that dog and that dog is being successful, I don't see a reason why they would have a problem with it, other than the fact that they're not going to be collecting the money from those puppies. And I think that really sticks with me the most. And I don't like that. I think that that's wrong. That's an opinion. Everybody's entitled to one, and that's mine.
Yeah.
That's what
And
I
that's
would.
one thing where it's like, again, I I didn't know that aspect of it, right? It was a hindsight sort of thing. It was one of those things where I didn't know enough to ask that question or to understand what was like what the agreements were and stuff like that. But yeah, so it's like, will I run him in tests? Maybe I don't know yet, and that's where it'll probably be as I learn more about what they are and how they operate, and like just time associated with it and stuff like that, and see like whether Maverick's capable, whether I'm capable as a trainer to do that. And so that's one thing over time where it's like people will talk about the different types of testing and that, and I still
Absolutely.
haven't been able to kind of grasp what's what, like, because like even you're talking about like the HRC versus the
Absolutely.
other types of clubs and other types of testing.
Yeah,
So
we
what
can
do
quickly
those
run
look like?
through that. So
Sure.
the HRC, that's what I run primarily. It's for me, it was the most inviting. I liked the people. Everybody was very, very happy to have me as a brand new person come in. It felt like family. People were willing to help me. That's why I chose the HRC. It was by hunters for hunters. Most of the setups that they do are predominantly hunting related. They'll have decoys out. You're blowing a duck call. You're shooting a real 870 with a popper in it,
Okay.
which is essentially a shell with just a primer. I like that aspect of it. I hunt. I want my dog to be around guns and hearing it, even if it's not just a primer, not the full shell. That was important to me. The CKC is a little bit different. They use a fake wooden gun, a fake gun. They use, they normally hand throw birds, but they can also use wingers, and they use either just a primer or they'll use a starter pistol.
Okay.
Uh, it's a little bit different when you call, so that you don't call as the handler. The judge calls, and then they shoot a primer, and then when the person that's throwing the bird, they'll also call and shoot a primer as well. It's a little bit different. I've only been to a couple CKC events. Um, they're a little bit different than we do things. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I found it to be more inviting to be in the HRC, and that's why I've kind of stayed where I am there. They have the same similar levels as to what the HRC is.
Okay.
Um, they call it a junior hunter, is similar to our started hunting retriever. There's obviously differences in distances and what's allowed and what's not allowed, but for the most part, they're fairly similar, I would say. And then they have what they call a senior hunter, and we have a hunting or seasoned level,
Oh,
which is
okay.
our HR. And they're a little bit different. There's some more differences between the two of them, and as you go through to our finished level and their master level, they get even more different. But they're all primarily based on the same things. CKC, they can throw a quad, so 4 marks in a row. They can do more poison birds, that kind of stuff. They have a little bit more freedom in terms of
What are
what
the
they can
poison
do.
birds? I heard that mentioned the other day, and
Yeah,
I've only heard it
so
a couple times. I didn't know what that was.
yeah, so the easiest way for me to explain it is in hunting terms. We're all hunters, or the majority of us are. You shoot a bunch of ducks. You drop 3 of them in the decoys, and uh, one of them is a cripple, starts going away, right? Your dog sees those 2 of the 3 sitting in the decoys, and it's focused on that dead one. It's got a nice big green head on it. It's right there. And essentially what you would do is you tell your dog, dead bird, line the dog up, and you say leave it. You'd leave those 2 that are dead, and you want that dog to pick up that cripple before it gets away. So essentially that is the poison bird would be the ones that are dead, and you'd be going after the other
Okay.
bird, right? So it's essentially being able to select the bird, and getting the dog to run by one that it knows that it's going to pick up, but to pick up the one that you want first
Okay.
by choice. It's a very difficult task for a lot of people. I've had trouble with it too. It basically it's training. That it's getting the dog used to doing it. The more it does it, obviously, the easier it'll be for them. So,
And
but
sorry,
it
and you
is,
said that's CKC, not
yeah,
HRC.
HRC, we do it. I've only seen it done a couple of times. We try, and HRC tries to do fit more into the test with other traits as opposed to using that poison bird. It is allowed. It's just not as standardized, I guess you could say, or as typical as a CKC. And the CKC also has a small upland portion mixed into their test,
Oh, okay.
essentially like a quartering drill. So you'd be out in the field, and the dog's got to go check all the brush as you're going through, staying within distance. That's something else that the CKC does. And then you have and this is, we're talking strictly here retrievers. There's many different types for other types of dogs as well. You also have the field trial side of it, which is they call it the white coat game. So essentially, you'll have guys out in the field wearing white jackets, and they'll throw a duck in the air and they'll shoot it with a popper, and you'll have your dog on a mat, and the dog will go out and pick up the birds, and they have junior level, and then they have open and amateur, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't. I've only watched one of them in my career anyway. It was pretty entertaining. It's a completely different game as well. But yeah, those are the three main retriever games that we have. There's also the SRS, which is down in the States. It's a mix of actually of a little bit of all three, I guess you could say. They got big stuff, little stuff, hunting setups, big spreads, and it's, yeah, if you go on YouTube, type in the SRS Crown Championship, you watch some real big dogs run, and it'll show you what a really good, well-trained retriever can do. It's pretty entertaining.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, SRS Crown. Definitely look it up on YouTube. It is, even if you watch 15 minutes of it, it'll, it's really what got me going, like, wow, that would be really cool to do. So you need a big dog to play that game, that's for sure.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, like, thanks, sir. Because like, I had always heard like the different terms and stuff like that, but like the, like the junior versus the senior and the started and all that, like I thought they're all kind of like, I didn't know if they're interchangeable, and I didn't realize that they were different sets from kind of different sets of tests. But
yeah,
that's really cool.
They're like different individual groups that they're all doing similar things, but they're all completely individual groups.
Okay.
So.
And but yeah, I think that covers everything like I really wanted to kind of get into today, and that kind of takes us from that start to finish sort of thing that I was hoping.
Amazing.
And like I really appreciate you coming on and explaining all that, because like I said, like I've heard bits and pieces of all of that over the last couple of years, especially like not just when I was on here, like when I started coming on, but like listening to all the episodes before Damien ever invited me on to do the podcast. So it's nice to just kind of have it in that one spot, that concise piece. And that's what I was hoping for tonight, was so that somebody could sit down and kind of listen to this, get all those ideas in one spot. Cause like, I know for me, it was completely overwhelming. And like, I think having joined the HRC is going to be huge for me. And like, it's nice because, yeah, it's like even now, like you and I hunted together once. I've been texting you ever since, like just asking questions. Like even when I was looking at getting the dog, like I ran stuff by you, and so it's been super helpful. And so I think, yeah, being part of the Georgian Bay Club. And one thing I meant to touch on earlier, because you had talked about where they're located, and one thing I found right away was how spread out the members themselves are from each club. So when people heard you kind of list off where the different ones are, like, don't feel like that, okay, like this one is a couple hours away from me, but chances are there's somebody else that's a member of that club that lives just down the road from you.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, the members are coming from everywhere for these clubs. And,
100%. I'm down in Orangeville. I'm coming up to Midland Tiny to come down, right? So we're all over the place. And
yeah, like super welcoming. And yeah, I only made it out to one training day. And then like your annual meeting, I was out for that, and great group. And like, I did want to say thanks because I also, everybody knows, like I'm a big DU guy. I'm on our local Midland committee. We've, like I mentioned, Phil's dinner is on March 6th. Ours is on March 7th in Midland for our DU dinner. And I had reached out to you to ask, like, hey, would you guys mind like donating a membership? So it's, so you guys have donated that, which is great. And it's nice to have different clubs of, because there's always that overlap. Like obviously
100%.
there's a big overlap of our attendees and your members and everybody. So it's nice to kind of have that cross promotion.
100%.
So it'll be nice to have that prize from you guys, and to have you guys involved, and yeah, just have that support. And so, yeah, like I plugged Phil's dinner. Like I said, our dinner is in Midland on March 7th. If anybody who's interested, you can reach out to either myself on Facebook or Instagram. And the Midland Ducks Limited has a Facebook page as well. And we're almost sold out. So if anybody's interested, let us know right away. And but yeah, thanks to you for coming on.
Problem.
Thanks for that.
No problem.
And
I just wanted to touch on one quick thing here. I know we're running out of time. I just want to be quick about it. The one thing that I really love about the Hunting Retriever Club, the HRC, is that it's family oriented. We have one of the largest kids group, young kids in in our area in Region 1, which is all of Ontario. We're family oriented. You come out to a training day, we have barbecues after them. The kids all get together, they run the dogs. When we're out running dogs, the kids are out playing. It's all about the family. HRC also has a foundation, a youth foundation, where we have scholarships, where kids can go for these scholarships. We also have a youth development program that the HRC recently started, where we have youth handlers that can come to our tests, run dogs. Your son wants to come run my dog at the started level, we can do that, and they can actually go and get points towards their scholarship, and they have a point system where the kids can get free items from sponsors that are within the HRC. So it's really family oriented. My wife comes out to all the events. All my buddies' wives come out. We have a barbecue. Once we're all done, we'll pop a top, and everybody will put their dogs away and relax. And it's really all about family and the kids and the next generation of hunters, which I know DU is all about as well.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure we touched on that.
Yeah, thanks. Because I'd forgotten. Like, I remember you told me about that, and I had never heard about that program with the kids, and thought that was really cool. And I'm really hoping my kids get involved in it as well. So I'm glad you remember to bring that up. But yeah, we've gone for an hour and a half. But the one thing I want to close out on, and I made a note that I wanted to close out. You've got to have some cool or funny or embarrassing hunting story or training story or something that's happened on the line at a test. So before we go out and before we do any last words, you gotta have something.
Where to start? I was running my dog for my chocolate dog for her first HRC test, and anyways, she was running at the finish level. It was my first time ever running there, and it's funny enough, it was the only poison bird test that I'd ever been in, and I'd watched dog after dog just get eaten alive by this poison bird thing. And I'm looking at where they set up where all the ducks were coming out of, and I'm going, I don't even know if my dog's gonna be able to pick up the ducks, let alone make it to this poison bird thing. And my dog went up. I shot the gun off, and supposedly everybody looked, and there was somebody who was recording behind me. I didn't know at the time, and the judge turned to the other judge and said, I think the dog missed that middle bird, and it was the long bird. My dog went out, smashed them all.
Nice.
She picked up the last one last, and I'm sitting on this chair, just I'm ready to throw up. Right, I watched her go out, and I'm like, she didn't see it. I know she didn't see it. Somehow, whatever reason, she went right out. She smacked the thing.
That's awesome.
That's not my dog. People that know the dog I'm talking about, they know she's not a pretty. She doesn't do things pretty, but she'll get the job done. She's a real meat and potatoes kind of dog. And I lined her up for that poison bird, and to run the blind and leave the poison bird, and she did a hell of a job. And I it's once I got the lead on the dog, and I'd done the honor portion of the test, the judge came up to me and he said, you can go back and you can change your underwear now, Mike. You made it through. So awesome. It was that was probably for me was the final thing that really sucked me into it, was like I really like this. It's real family oriented, and it was successful, so I was happy about it, but it was the experience, really good experience. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. And I'm hoping that's something I'm looking forward to. It's like just getting those stories and having like those 100%. Those cool, proud moments and just like the ones that just catch you right off guard, right? Like
I've never cried more in my life than when I'm dog training or running a test or even just watching the dogs pick up the birds. There's many times I'll be hunting even out with you guys, and I won't even shoot. My gun will stay at my side, and I'm more than happy to work that dog. And that, for me, that's my church. It's my heaven. I love watching the dog doing what it's made to do. And you watch a young dog smack a goose that's a cripple running at full speed out of the air. It'll change your heart forever. It'll never be the same. So
that's awesome.
It's like a drug.
Yeah, I think that's a cool note to end on. And if you have any other last thoughts or one final thing,
thank you so much for having me out. I hope I look forward to seeing you at the DU dinner and at training days, and hopefully we get the note out there that we're here to stay, and we're always looking for new hunters and new dog trainers and family members that want to come out. Come out and see what we're about. We'd be happy to see you. And thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for coming on. And I guess everybody can look for you on Georgian Bay HRC on Facebook, Instagram.
Absolutely.
Best way to get a hold of you guys.
You'll be able to find us all over there, and we got emails and whatnot. Come on out, and we'd love to meet you. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate it. I think this is exactly what I was hoping it would be. And if anybody's made it right to the very end, I hope I hope you weren't disappointed that it was another show about dogs or that Damien and Phil weren't here. I hope everybody thinks that this went as well as I do. And so, Mike, thanks again, and hopefully we'll see everybody next time. Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
Craig. Thank you.